We're smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome. It is the day after the double barrel celebration, and it is a Wednesday back to work edition of Freshly Pressed. And I say good morning to our analyst this morning, Lakunle Yusuf. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everyone listening to us wherever. Welcome back to Work Day.
Well, it looks like you, from if what I see, your cheeks are looking oily from an overdose of what you had over the celebration, and that's not fair. We didn't get to all of that consumption of the ram, just you alone, Lakunle. Let me report you to Lagos right now. Lagos, that's the fate for Lakunle.
The streets, the streets were not smiling. The
Good
streets
morning,
were not
Devoe Okorie.
smiling.
Good morning, Devoe.
Morning, world. Morning, Lagos. Um, this is a call from paradise as we get back to work. Eku, the rivers of the wild, wild south.
Okay, so it means you just already taking it to where we are heading to when we look at the headlines shortly. But let's bring you also into it, knowing that you can be part of the conversation this morning if you send us your thoughts as a WhatsApp message onto 0809 444 0981 will be where we love to read all of your WhatsApp messages relating to the newspaper stories from the headlines this morning. Then you'll be sure to race down to youtube.com/smooth 981 FM. Now, just be there to catch a live stream and, of course, leave your thoughts there also. You can also go back to get a replay of this session this morning. So let's just move on now to go over to Devoe. Let's pick up the rivers of the wild, wild south, if you like, if the calm waters, the waters of rivers, is troubled right now. From the Daily Trust newspaper comes the report, Rivers local government area crisis. Police confirmed killings, take over all secretariats. Devoe, walk us through this story and give us a sense of the temperature there right now.
Yes, it seems as if uh, some call it the rivers of the wild, wild west. Some call it, instead of rivers of joy, it is now the rivers of instability and disharmony. And just before it becomes the rivers of blood and violence, we see from the story that the police has taken a position. But I think for those who have kept up with news briefings, especially from broadcast stations yesterday, you will know that there has been a lot of pandemonium in River State over the um, daggers drawn by one, the government, which is the state government, the governor Fubara, who has asked the administrators of the 23 local governments to take over since the expiration of the tenure of the local government chairman, who most of them, I think about 21 of them, were pro-Wike. That was the former governor who is now the FCT minister, who had sworn that they would stay in power or they would continue their tenures based on the state assembly um, extension of their tenures, which many claim was done uh, outside the constitutional law, that's by the court hearing, which asked them to maintain status quo, that it was no longer valid. So obviously many factions, especially those who were pro the governor, especially his own clan, the Ijaws, and some people who believe that the government of River State should never be in the pockets of anyone, and that every governor has done his 2 terms and has left. Why does a former governor believe that he should still be controlling things through seemingly either the local government chairman or the State House Assembly? But as we say, it almost became the rivers of the wild, wild west yesterday, because there was a shooting in some locations. Different youths who were pro the governor came forward to defend and ensure that the local government chairman evacuated the premises those local government centers, asking them to pack their bags and go. And then I think one of the local governments, two people were lost, a policeman and a vigilante. But what
So
can we say of all of this? What can we say about all of this? I will tell you the truth. Even though we live in a democracy, it's necessary that the people of any state realize that they are the ones that will defend their democracy. They are the ones that will ensure that the democracy obeys the rule of law. And unlike other scenarios where sometimes it's a case where people believe that the government is funding or hiring hoodlums, I'm happy that the people of River State, in one way or the other, are coming out to defend what is rightfully theirs. It's unfortunate that we have this scenario. One would wonder, what was all this fight about? Is it about the welfare of the River State's people? Is it about growing and developing River State? No, we've not heard anything about that. Was it about health? Was it about building roads? Was it about building infrastructure to develop River State and take it further? It's been about sharing the treasury and the commonwealth of River State people amongst a few politicians. And the truth must be said so that people realize at the end of the day that this democracy is for everybody. It's not just for a few, it's for everybody. I hope that the governor himself will take note of what is happening and always remain at the behest of his own people. And never at any point would he begin to think he also will become a demigod. I just hope that this is the way forward.
All right, we'll get your submission, Devoe. Let's go over to Lakunle. You want to share your thoughts about this? Because on the back of this, would we say we are surprised knowing that there was a build-up to where we are right now? And knowing that there's a case in court already, even instituted by the federal government, asking for local government autonomy. And at some point, the Attorney General had come up to say, you know what, if I have my way, the DCEC, that's the State Electoral Commission, should be scrapped in the first place. Walk us into, is this not another part of power struggle and balance?
It's interesting that first, that many of the principal actors in this matter are actually lawyers. So you can see the little or no regard that is being given to what everybody is quoting to be supporting, the rule of law. So we always say that whatever happens, the courts is the best place to go for the interpretation of our laws, and everybody should obey whatever the court says, and you keep at it until you get justice. But here we are, a sitting governor is instigating people to cause mayhem because an ex-governor has disobeyed a law, right? Remember, just a few months ago, the State House of Assembly was demolished because there's a disagreement as to who is in control of the state. Now the state is going to spend 9 billion, or is it 90 billion, to build another one. And it is this same thing here. The second point I also want to bring out is that while this fight is going on, you will not see the children of the principal actors on the streets fighting. Now we hear that 2 people have been killed. Unfortunately, a policeman is involved. Police will mobilize their men and enter the streets and start to arrest and maim and kill people very shortly, right? Claiming that they want to find the person who killed their personnel, right? So some people's children are going to die. 2 months' time, 3 months' time, 1 year down the line, these principal actors will enter the same room and smile and pat themselves on the back. But those people would have died. Their parents would have become childless. They would, their children would have become fatherless. So we need to be circumspect about all these things. Like Devoe said, much of what we're seeing is not about development. It's not about love for River State or anybody. It's about self-preservation. And we need to be circumspect at how we're going, anybody is going to join to support these people to get this done. Yes, while we say that, it is important that once you've had your turn, leave the state, let the next person have their turn. It's not your business how the person runs the state. Don't put your nose unless you are invited. I think our politicians need to learn that, and it's high time we started telling our politicians that the problems they cause this country is 99% of our problems, and they need to step back.
Oh, well, sounding from your end of Lakunle, if you finish from the dining table, please leave the dining table and let those who are still dining, dine in peace. Well, let's go on now, Lakunle, and pick up this next paper, which has a Lagos-centric feel. The Nation newspaper, it says, Lagos floats information platform for patient data management. Is this e-medics, medicine all over once again?
When I saw this story, I was some kind of elated. Have you ever been in an emergency ward in a hospital before? If you ever have, I'd been there once. And the questions that were being asked, what's your name? Somebody who's already in pain, somebody from an accident victim. What's your name? Where are you coming from? Because there's no documentation of such individuals. Now this system comes on board, and what it does is, if you've ever used a service of any hospital in Lagos, that's where it's going to end. If you ever use a service of any hospital in Lagos, it is sure that whenever you go to another one, you won't need to start the process of documentation all over again, right? And this removes a significant time that people spend in hospitals, right? So whether we like it or not, whether we say that our government is not doing enough, this and that, the little pockets of things like this that we see, right, helps us to say that, okay, it's possible that bigger things can be done. I'm particularly excited about this, that there's a little bit of private sector involvement with InterSwitch and eClat. Now, when this thing goes on, according to this report, it means that anybody, whether you visited a primary health center, a tertiary health institution, or private hospital, your data is easily available. Your medical history can easily be accessed. This is one of the things we've been saying about data of Nigerians being in silos. Here we are here. This is what is saying particularly, that possibly then this system will be aggregating several data from several sources. So if you've used any of the InterSwitch platform, for example, if you've ever paid tax in Lagos, for example, all this information will be what will form the base of this thing, and such that when you go to the hospital, your information is available. The matter that somebody needs blood and they are first doing blood sample tests before they know the blood group or the genotype or whatever of the person, the information is already available on this system and can easily be accessed, and the person can get faster access to treatment. This is a good one. I just wish for a moment that every other state in Nigeria is taking a cue from Lagos and doing bits and pieces of what these Lagos state governments have been doing over time, right? We may say it's not enough. Yes, it is not. We are 22 million people in Lagos. If the other states do a little bit of these things as well, maybe 6 of those 22 would not come to Lagos at all. They will stay where they are and enjoy the same benefits there. And I say that Lagos state government has done well with this, and I'm looking forward to it going live.
All right, speak briefly about, to allay the fears of the patients, data, personal health issues as something that should be confidential. Security of this data, can the government guarantee that?
Yeah, okay, so don't forget, this is a public-private sector driven initiative. So I would assume that the private end of it would be the one to be held responsible for this. Nigeria has a robust data protection law. I've looked at that law several times before now, of course, and it's very robust. For example, it says, that any data of Nigerians, particularly governments, must reside in Nigeria. You cannot, for example, go and host the data somewhere else outside Nigeria, for example. And the things that have been put in place to guarantee those safety. Now, there are so many. Also, don't forget that also there are so other laws, like, for example, declaration of your health status, that you should not be discriminated against if you have things like mental health issues, you have HIV, cancer, all those things. So it's not in itself that the same worry we have about data with the banks, with the telcos, with everywhere else, It's the same worry we'll have about this. But because of it, the private initiative in it, we can almost say that data will be guaranteed, and government need to do a lot of sensitization to allay the fears, just as we have mentioned it about data integrity.
Confidentiality. All right, thanks very much. Before I get to Devoe, we'll come to you shortly, but let's see messages piling on the horizon. And let's see, Cisco Delgado comes up saying, well, this issue with River State of Wild is all about greed and godfatherism. Cisco Delgado's thoughts this morning. And then Don Kelvin comes up saying, a template is being tested out in Rivers State for the later election period. And if there is no resistance for the action now, then it will be used after elections to stay in power. All Nigerians should speak up against what is playing out in that state. Now comes in Joseph Menyes from Silver State Ejibo saying here that, it says, the country is in dire straits, honestly, because its impurities from top up to bottom of governance, no rule of law. Just imagine what's happening in Rivers, governor versus ex-chairman versus former governor, and go over to Kano in emirate turmoil of who should be the emir. This rascality court is now becoming a norm that cannot be challenged in court of law. Joseph Menyes thoughts this morning, and Abbas will come in with a message saying the people that came out in Rivers were supporters of the governor, and that was not about the people coming out to defend any democracy. It was just about show of power. Those people vandalize properties and kill people. The governor is being tyrannical and shouldn't be supported like we are just doing just because we don't like Wike. A governor who only recognized 3 House of Assembly members cannot be called a Democrat. That fight is not just about the people. And Honorable Ugo Chinyere, who is not from Rivers, should stop taking sides and making it look like the House of Rep is behind the governor. All right, we'll pause. We'll get more messages in shortly. Devoe, let's see how we can make money in 6 years. If I tell you how much we can make before 2030 from now, what would that amount be? But let's have a guess here. From the Daily Trust newspaper comes this headline: creative industry will contribute $100 billion to Nigeria's economy by 2030. Who's taking this guess, and can we run with this one, Devoe?
Well, the Minister of Culture, Arts and Creative Economy, that's Hannatu Musawa, was speaking on Tuesday at the if you've looked on Twitter or on X, on many of the social media channels, you will see the word steez, which speaks to confidence and composure, trending. Yeah. And it has to do with a lot of fanfare and imagery that came out of the Ojudu-Oba Festival, which is a native festival of the Ijebu people that takes place yearly. And it's characterized by uniform clothing, apparel, ashoke, adire, and all manner of sorts in a very royal and grandiose fashion. And given the way many of the video editors have put it, you would be so proud of the whole organization. And with the minister present there, who was represented by someone, she's saying that such creative opportunities and capacities will take Nigeria further, that by 2030, they'll be looking about 100 billion for the creative sector. Now, the truth is, this is just a projection. What we want the minister to do is to, get to work in terms of creating the necessary infrastructure to help creative endeavors nationwide, from music to film to fashion, to even some of the, what I call it, folklore, and some of these cultural things that are normally not recorded. There are many aspects to culture. Culture is not just about, even food is an aspect of culture that can bring wealth. Now, let me give you an example. If you noticed, most times, Nigerian people who travel abroad hardly are able to get Nigerian food. Many people, if they want Nigerian food, they have to look for a Nigerian. But now we can make an English breakfast because recipes and ingredients have been documented so that anybody anywhere can put it together. These are all forms of cultural aspects that need to go through some process of documentation, capturing historical stuff. It's even, if you check Hollywood, Hollywood is replete with movies of American history, okay? What happened during the world wars, different stories and different angles of what happened during the different phases of their 200-year history. Do we have same here in Nigeria? These are aspects of culture that we believe, if tapped into, and that's where we need the ministry to play a role. Nigerians home and abroad, and even foreigners, if you remember in the time of the Fela on Broadway, a foreigner came to Nigeria, bought rights, made a killing, and left the country. And the family that should have even made something from it didn't. So these show you the gaps that exist in terms of IP, that's information, data protection, intellectual property, things that need to be done to actually strengthen this sector so that it can contribute. If it reaches $100 million by 2030, that should, I mean, if we look at $1 trillion projection, that would mean that the creative sector would be contributing at least 10% to the GDP. And it's a sector that employs a lot and lots and lots of youths in various sectors. So we align with her, but we want her to do the necessary to ensure that this sector reaches its projected expectation.
All right, so let's bring in Lakunle at this point. I was going through the pictures to see if I would find Lakunle around that, some of the pictures going online, but Lakunle, we're waiting for you to upload your Still Judu Festival.
Holding his steeds.
Yeah, I want to see your steeds drip on that one. But Lakunle, come up now. Let's see what you can help us understand from the Daily Post with this headline, where it says, Kano Emirship Crisis, Kwankwaso's comments unwarranted and unacceptable. That's the APC having a right of reply here. But take us into this story.
My first comments about this story again, our politicians need to be careful about the way they do things. Yes, laws they need to realize, or I hope they know, I want to assume they know that laws are made for men and men not for laws. And they need to be careful how they wield the power that is in their hands to do things. Right. Having said that, one can understand the problems where it started from, where it is today. But one also needs to be careful what one says about this matter so that one does not seem to be unnecessarily critical of either parties, but to appeal to all of them in that state, particularly. We know how volatile Kano can be. We know how, and also most times, when things go out of hand, we know where it always ends. And they need to be careful in their utterances, in their actions in that state. The laws are clear as to chieftaincy and cultural affairs. The emir or the oba or the eze or whatever the title is, it is a local government chairman's affair. The law says that all of them are reporting to the local government chairman. So the governor, presidency, all of them getting involved in this matter, plus it just shows how much disregard we have for our laws, right? Now, where we are, 2 days before Sallah, police also jumped into it and said it bans Doba in the States. Now here we are, presidential candidate is saying one party wants to steal the state from the other, and so on and so forth. So I think that in all of this, these are people who are the top. They are not just traditional rulers, they are also religious rulers of their people. They understand the injunction of their faith, which says that life is very fickle. So I'm wondering whether that life being fickle is just a matter of I hear, not that I believe, from the perspective of these two people, that they cannot, for the life of me, even say, both of us, we don't even want to find a third person, for example, if that's going to be what's going to solve this problem. This problem is not going to go away. We have politicized it, and the solution is not even in the politics anymore. We'll probably then need to look outside of politics, which is our laws. The local government chairman is supposed, but okay, do they have local government chairman on seats in Kano State today? I don't think so, right? So you see the politics that we have brought into everything. Everything politics touches in this country, it scatters. And that's where we are now. And you see all these English, all of them are speaking. One day is going to get to the street and it's going to spark off something. I pray not. And we know how volatile Kano is. And everybody involved in this would not be a part of the brunt of whatever it is that's going to happen. And I hope that people like Musa Kwankwaso, the APC itself they should restrain themselves from making inflammatory statements about this. All of them should get into a room and solve this problem. There are bigger problems to be solved in this country than jostling for an emirship title, right?
Okay.
And I think also that the people, the principal actors, should not be left out of the solution to this problem.
All right. Reminds one of the scene from the Bible where King Solomon was going to say, you know what, well, let's split the baby in two. And the other woman said, you know what, she can have it. And just bouncing off of what she said, if one would say, you know what, I walk out of it and one can have it. But moving on, let's see messages a bit here. That's Dan Okudwa from Igondo here saying, Wike should be made to understand that Rivers State is not Lagos. There is no room for godfatherism in Rivers politics. Power is transient. He should face his job as FCT minister, period. Then comes Aderemi Adeniro. Where would Nigeria be without Lagos? Aderemi wondering, and that's reacting to one of the comments in terms of data management, and I think Lakunle's submission saying others should just do a bit of it, and then you might just see people begin to live life better in other parts of the country. But let's go to Ajayi Olonilua from GRA Sherry this morning. And he says here that the situation in Rivers is now likened to that of the Wild Wild West in 1964 that truncated the First Republic, and with the unsettled Emir dispute in Kano, someone must take a decisive action to avoid another truncation of our democracy. Ajayi's thoughts this morning. Cisco says here, it is a great idea to have a database management system for hospitals. The question is, can Nigeria maintain such systems where there is no steady electricity? Telco companies were able to survive because they have power backup system for their cell towers. Secondly, how secure is the database going to be? Cisco's thoughts this morning. Cisco, you have to remember, we have to get you a police recruitment form. You still owe us that to go into that service. Can
I quickly respond to him?
Please do, yes.
So because you have had an accident in a car, does it mean you will not travel in the car again? I mean, I am such a person that likes to find solutions to problems. I don't want to describe the problems. Getting this thing in place, let's get it in place first. We'll worry about all those things when we get there. That's what I think.
And then Abbas throws in the next one saying, gratitude to the Jebu people who over the time have kept part of our culture alive with the Ojodu Oba festival. We have a whole lot of culture that can bring money into this country, just that we don't focus more on them because we have labeled them pagan. And then it goes on because of our religious beliefs. But these festivals are what some foreigners love to come and see. The sights, the pictures coming out of Ogun State was awesome, really beautiful. Okay, and that means the frontage of the king. So it's just a parade, a show off to show the grandeur of the subject before their king. And then Anthony sends us a message from Marine Beach saying thanks, Lakunle, for that update on it there. Appreciate it. And then it says, Tony from Marine Beach says, our society has become so polarized with the spare of political upheavals on the rise. Non-state actors taking a stride on the stage with reckless boldness. I fear we are close to anarchy unless political actors begin to think twice and can call themselves to order before it is too late. Well, these are the thoughts we got in this. Oh, and Omolabake. Okay, let's see how he says. Ojude. Okay, thanks. I see that down.
Ojude Oba.
Good. I appreciate Omolabake.
King's
Thank you so much.
Courtyard.
Okay, King's Courtyard. Yeah, well, I appreciate
Easy
that
left.
message you sent in. Dotun also sent in a message too. Okay, all taken in. But gentlemen, I want to say thank you to Lakunle, Yusuf, for your time this morning.
Don't worry, you see my steez very soon.
Okay,
And my
let's
Liz.
let's see the steez in the RAM too, because
Yes, of
we
course.
were still
The
on that
steez and the
conversation.
Riz and the Ram.
And then let's say thank you to Devoe Okorie for your time also.
Ojudo Bastis.
All right, guys,
All
it's a
right.
wrap here. We'll be out there and we'll go into the locker room shortly with Tega Onojaife. Stay tuned. Everything Sports Euro 2024 is up next.
Bye.